I don't know how to tell when she starts the recording, but okay, now we're good. So I want to welcome everyone to Titan Leadership Roundtable. So wanting to introduce myself. So I'll be one of the moderators along with Natalie. My name is Courtney. I am an intern at the Women's Center, and I've also served on multiple councils in the past and been a leader on campus through Panhellenic, Sorority Life, and on Readvisory Council as well. And I'll let Natalie introduce herself. Oh, also my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Natalie. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm also an intern at the Women's Center this semester, and I'm currently the vice president for Seoul, and I've been involved in a couple of other organizations throughout my years here at Oshkosh.
So we also have 3 panelists with us, Emily, Ava, and Jessica. So if you 3 want to if you don't mind introducing yourselves, just giving your name, your pronouns, and the organizations you're involved in.
I guess I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I'll go first. Hello, I'm Emily Xiong, and my preferred pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am currently the president of the Hmong Student Union.
Ava, if you want to go next.
Yeah, I'm Ava Tryon. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am the Vice President Pro-Tempore of OSA, the Oshkosh Student Association, and I've been the Women's Advocacy Senator on that. And some other organizations I'm involved in are Psychology Club, National Society of Leadership and Success, and the Women's Advocacy Council.
Can you guys all hear me okay? Or is it okay? Good. I'm on my phone, so I'm sorry. But hi everyone, my name is Jessica Placencia. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the president of Seoul this year, and I'm also a FFWS student mentor at Career and Professional Development. I'm also a McNair Scholar, and I'm in other organizations such as the national, or I don't know what it is, but Psychi. I don't know what the actual full title is, but Psychi and the National Society of Leadership and Success.
Oh, awesome. So just to kind of get started, we'll start off with you, Emily. How did you first get involved in your organization?
Yeah, so I was actually a freshman when I joined HSU. I was just, that doe-eyed member that just showed up to the meetings. And it wasn't until I think near the second semester, I was approached by the president of the organization, Cassie Xiong. She's a friend of mine, and she was also from the same hometown. So she reached out to me, and she asked if I wanted to be treasurer of HSU. And because I was really motivated of learning more about campus life and just being more involved as a student, I took her up on the offer, and I've been on the executive board ever since.
All right. So I got involved in OSA and my other organizations after I transferred. So I started at UW Green Bay as a freshman, and then in my second semester I transferred here. So once I became a sophomore, I'm going to mainly talk about OSA because that's the one that I'm probably most involved in right now. So I first joined OSA as a sophomore as a senator, and then after a semester, I became the Women's Advocacy Senator for about a year, and then this semester I became the Vice President Pro-Tempore. And I mainly joined because I wanted to get to know other students after transferring, and really just having good discussions with other political science majors, and being able to talk to just a bunch of different students on campus.
I started getting involved with Soul my sophomore year. Freshman year, I only went to one meeting and then I never went again. But sophomore year, I got closer to the people who were actively involved with Soul. And I was able to go to USHLI, which is this conference that we go to typically every year in Chicago. It's just kind of encourage leadership, and it has a variety of workshops and things like that. Um, and I really enjoyed it. I think through that, especially, I got really close to the members of Soul. And then after my sophomore year, I ran for secretary. So my junior year, I was secretary, and then now I am the president. So that's how I started getting involved with it.
Awesome. Thank you. So with being, in this leadership position, I feel like there's so many positive experiences that we all have kind of experienced and been through, but what do you think would be the most rewarding to date about being in your leadership position? We can kind of go in the same order, it's fine.
Okay. Certainly, I think the most rewarding part has been my growth as a person. Not only has being in a leadership position allowed me to improve on my leadership skills, but it's also impacted my interpersonal skills, just my confidence to speak up. And honestly, something that was also really rewarding was witnessing the growth of my fellow executive board members and their leadership skills, and just seeing them become more confident individuals who are willing to speak up about issues that they're really passionate about. So I'm just really glad that we've been given the opportunity to establish that community and having a space to do so.
Yeah, I would agree that that was a very big rewarding experience. Just see that growth in yourself. Once you start as a freshman or a sophomore to now as a senior, you change so much with having those conversations and being involved with people. But also I would say that it's been really nice being able to strengthen other people's leadership skills as well and helping them in any way that I can. So like on Senate for OSA, we help them, write resolutions, get involved on campus. And that's been really rewarding for people who come in not really sure what to do and then just navigating them through that. And then also just having the opportunity to advocate for equality on campus has been really rewarding as well.
Something that I find to be really rewarding being a part of Soul is being part of something that contributes to, allowing people this space to feel comfortable, to feel like they're being heard, to feel like they're seen and that their opinion matters. I think that for, in general, minority racial groups, it's hard to find your place. It's hard to find a space where you feel comfortable, especially at a primarily white institution. So for me, that's something that I take a lot of pride in is, even if I wasn't on the executive board, when I was a member, I was really proud to be part of, this group of people that I knew I could have conversations with, I could feel safe, and I felt like I was being represented in that time when we were meeting and doing events and things like that. And I think also it's really rewarding when we do events where, in general, Soul invites any kind of student to join us, right? You don't have to be Latinx to join, but when we do events that are campus wide, when we invite the student body in general to come see, and be part of what we do, that's really rewarding because we're sharing our experiences, our cultures with other people who might not know much about it. So I would say that those two things are the most rewarding for me.
I think that's awesome. One of the things that I've seen that was like super rewarding, being a leader like on campus, Emily and Ava, like I know you both touched on like seeing like growth within yourself. Like I've had the same advisor since like freshman year, within sorority life, and she's just like, yeah, I've seen like your growth so much, and I think it's really interesting. Also, I got a question one time in a graduate school interview, and they asked, how can you see when like, how do you measure when you have succeeded? And I'm just like, when other people start coming to me like for advice and to help others, like other people grow, like I think is like one of the most rewarding things that I've done so far, is like helping others grow.
Yeah, I would definitely say both Emily and Ava talked on this, and but just the growth within yourself. I feel like, again, coming in with a marginalized background and being Hispanic and first generation also, like it was really hard to like find my place on campus, and even really discover a voice that I didn't even really know I had. So I think the organization and taking on these different leadership opportunities has really allowed me to use that voice not only for myself, but also to use it for others, which has been really rewarding.
So kind of on the opposite side, we do see a lot of rewarding aspects, but have you seen any challenges, or, well, we've seen challenges, or how have you overcome those?
So, yeah, of course, my identity as a woman has impacted my own experiences and, my own values as a human being. But I can't ignore that. I know Jessica touched upon this too, being a president of a multicultural organization, there's another aspect of my identity as an Asian, as a Hmong woman. And I feel like having to tap into that aspect of my identity was challenging because not only did I have to utilize it for, organization purposes, but also in a greater socio-political context with everything going on in the world. Anti-Asian hate crimes are on the rise. There was just the recent spa shooting. 6 of the victims were Asian women. There was the Hmong deportation proposal last year. There was just so many issues going on in the world, and you can't ignore that doesn't impact you as a student, as a leader. And so as a student leader, I realized that there was this pressure to become an advocate for your own people. And it was challenging because at that time I didn't have the tools to handle all these things. There's no handbook on navigating through a predominantly white institution as a marginalized person. And it really made me take a step back and deconstruct my own oppressions and my own privileges and educating myself and just taking a stance on what I truly believed in. And I overcame these challenges by, practicing self-forgiveness and self-acceptance because honestly, we're all doing the best with what we were given. I know that everyone here is doing the best through this pandemic as well. And hopefully through these methods, I'm not sure about you all, but it helps me sleep at night.
Yeah, so I would say challenges for me personally about being a leader on OSA has been feeling like there's always something else that I should be doing, or feeling like there's so many problems to tackle, but I can't do that really by myself. So that was one thing that was hard with being on this club, just because you are trying to better the campus in any way that you can, put forward your ideas. But then there's just so many things to work on, as a campus, or so many things that we should be improving in that you can't always see in the time that you're on campus. So you can't always see the difference it's going to make before you graduate, and something that you're working really hard in the past few years. So that's definitely been one difficult thing. But I would say how I've overcome that challenge is just really having a strong community in OSA. So just having a really strong like family community where everyone has really been by each other's side and has been really helpful with everything, and just making you feel like what you're doing is like truly important and does affect people's lives, even if you aren't going to see that progress yourself, that what you're doing is helping.
I would say one of the constant, I don't know if I'd call it a challenge necessarily, but something that I think is always something as an executive board that we try to think about in regards to soul is making sure that things that we do, things that we talk about and have conversations about is not excluding anyone. That people feel like they are being seen, that they are being heard. I feel like a misconception about soul is that we are only of like Mexico descent. Like it's just like we just talk about Mexican traditions and things like that. And we never want to make it seem that way. We don't want people to feel like they're not being represented. And if they are someone who identifies to be Latinx and they want us to talk about, you know, their cultures, their traditions, where they come from, we want to make sure that we make it known that soul is that space and is that environment on campus where you are able to do that, and all cultures and backgrounds are welcomed there, and we want to be able to share all of it with our members and with on campus. So I think that that's something that it can be a challenge, but I think that at the same time it's just something that we always have to be conscious of, and always thinking through that what we do and what we talk about is inclusive, and it won't make anyone feel like they're being ignored, or like they shouldn't be there, that they can't be there. So
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Jess. Since we both are on the exec board for Soul, I think it's difficult, challenging, balancing, representing all different Hispanic identities, since I think most of, or if not all of the exec board is Mexican descent, and a lot of our active members are as well. But I think, that being a challenge, it also sets us up for great success to try and overcome that and to continue to work on including these different identities. But yeah, and then another thing I would say was definitely agreeing with Emily and like tying into like my ethnic background and my identity. I feel like that's something I've always struggled with, just because I feel like I've always been told that I wasn't like Mexican enough or anything like that, because I wasn't raised traditionally, or I didn't grow up in a traditional household. So I think taking on this leadership position has definitely helped with that, but I think that's still a challenge that I try to overcome a lot when I do still hear those comments.
Yeah, I could see how, all of those would be extremely hard to challenge. And Emily, the fact of just having, that extra burden in like your own personal life, and to just go through that on like a daily basis, and like you wouldn't necessarily think about that all the time. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, any of you?
I really liked Natalie and Jessica's point about, wanting to be more inclusive in their student orgs. I really resonated with that, and I really like that sentiment because, um, student involvement in leadership positions I've seen are kind of declining. And, I there's a part of me that feels bad because although we're part of the Hmong Student Union, again, I also feel that barrier that people think that since they're not Hmong, they can't join or like participate in these activities. And there's ASA, the Asian Student Association, but there's no one on the executive board. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's an advisor there either. And so that makes me worry about, other Asian students on campus who are not of, their ethnic background isn't Hmong, and they're still trying to find an environment where they can feel included. So yeah, I really liked your point about that. I really related to that.
So you said, well, and I feel like I've also witnessed this, and maybe we all have, but there has been like a decline in, I think, people pursuing these leadership opportunities, and maybe COVID has a huge, probably more than likely has a huge part in that. But what would you say, in order to increase people taking these leadership opportunities, like what would you say is most beneficial about being in your leadership role?
Yeah, I think that, of course, there's that growth in you, but I think it's really beneficial to feel as though you belong. You can find spaces where you feel included. And that's about having a community and having your voice being heard in these positions, because no one can represent you and your needs on campus the best except yourself. And so it's important to have that representation on campus and having your voice being heard if you're up for the challenge.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Before getting my leadership position in OSA, I definitely felt like I was more in the background and less willing to, open up or speak out. And once I did get like into the women's advocacy position, I felt more confident, and I really felt like I could actually like have my voice be heard by everyone. And then I would also say that being involved on campus just has, so many like just great opportunities for students. Like when you look back at your college experience, I feel like you're really going to remember, those events that you went to, the people you met in your organizations, like the really tough and the really good conversations you had with people. Like that's what you're going to remember, in like 10, 20 years. It's not necessarily going to be your like lab class or something, a specific date. It's really going to be about those connections that you made with people.
I think that having a leadership position and more in general, just being involved, I think that the most beneficial thing that you get out of it is the networking piece, the connections that you make with people, whether those are advisors, other members, professors, even. I think that coming in as a first generation student, it was really scary for me. Like I could never envision myself like going to office hours and, you know, creating this relationship with my professors or getting to know these advisors from these organizations and things like that. And even now, like still it can be scary to like reach out and like ask for things and kind of communicate different things to these people. And but I would say that because of my involvement, because of these leadership positions, it kind of made that road a little easier for me. And within that, woven into that, there are many countless other benefits that come with making connections alone. I would say that literally the people that I have met, the people that I've networked with have helped me get into grad school. Like these are people that are helping me reach my future career and personal goals. And if it weren't for, stepping back and thinking, okay, if I would have never been involved with Soul, if I would have never, decided to be part of McNair and things like that, like all these things, what would that even look like for me? Because I would still be stuck in this mentality of being confused, of feeling lonely because I was first generation. But through these opportunities of being involved, it's made all of that 10 times easier.
Jessica, I definitely relate to that. I feel like, especially the mentors that I've gotten from being involved, has changed my entire college experience. and just those connections that you make, I feel like they kind of lead you to the path of like what you're thinking. I mean, I came into college undecided, and then I decided to go into higher education. And, so there's been a lot of great work that I've gotten help with throughout the years. So I definitely understand. I would not be able to get into graduate school either without those connections.
Yeah, I would definitely say networking, and as Ava mentioned, like the experiences that you get out of being in these leadership positions. Like I know one event that I'll always remember is going to Ushli, and that might be due to the fact because that was the last event I went to before COVID, and there was like so many of us, so it was surprising that we were even there in February. But really just that entire experience and like the outcome of that experience, I was able to gain more skills or more confidence to run for vice president, and now I'm vice president, and also just being able to like form closer relationships with not only just general members but those specific people who I went on the trip with. Like most of them are on the exec board now, so overall I would say that would be most beneficial and it was most rewarding.
Was there anything else anyone wanted to add? Okay, well, Ava, we can start with you this time. So, have you faced any challenges specifically attributed to your gender? Maybe just challenges that your male identified counterparts would not have to deal with? Or anything you just want the people to know about being a woman leader on campus?
Yeah, for sure. I would say that one challenge I faced coming into UW Oshkosh that was attributed to my gender was actually when I first joined the student government OSA. All men were on the executive board at that time for this first semester I was there. So it was a little intimidating because I was coming in, as a sophomore, new to the campus, and in this, important student organization. And then I, look around me and there are a lot of men compared to women, but it has gotten like way better since that first semester. We have a lot of women on the executive board, a lot of women on Senate and Assembly and OSA, and I'm just really proud now to, I always was proud, but I'm just really proud of like the growth that we've had so far in the leadership positions. But then I guess I would say other challenges are, having those difficult conversations with people where like I would get certain things like I'd get a like scholarship pertaining to women or just having those accomplishments in college or in my studies about being a woman, and then having the response from someone else saying that I only did get that because I was a woman, not because of the hard work that I put into achieving those goals or, putting the hard work into getting that scholarship. So those I've had difficult conversations like that where, stuff that I feel really proud of is just kind of put down a little bit because of that. But those are the two main ones, I would say.
Jessica, if you want, I go next.
Yeah, I can go next. I really can't say that I've personally experienced a challenge through my leadership roles because of my gender. But I think if there's anything that I would say, I think that in general, when you are in a kind of leadership position, whether, that's my organizations that I'm in or like my job on campus, I think what's the most challenging is the way that we as women communicate and the way that we come across. I think that that's a really big challenge, and I have felt that before. Not specifically at Oshkosh, but just in other roles outside of school as well. Just, kind of thinking about, you don't want to come off a certain way because you're a woman and, you know, the person on the other end might interpret it differently. I think another thing that I struggle with sometimes is fulfilling that kind of authoritative piece. You know, when you write emails and you say, can you please have this done by this date, instead of, you know, rewording it like, I need you to have this done by this date. I think that, you know, I think it's just always a challenge because you just never want to come off or give like a weird impression. And obviously that's not our fault, you know, that's just like how a lot of people deem it to be. But like I said, I can't say that I've personally experienced that with my school or with my student organizations or with my job on campus, but it's something that I've definitely felt off campus when I'm trying to communicate with other people.
Yeah, I really agreed with both of you too. For me, I haven't like faced any like um, actual confrontations about that, but I think it's just because I grew up in a more traditional family, you know, where the women were supposed to be in the kitchen, the men were at the dinner table, just having the time of their lives. And I was socialized in that mindset for so long throughout my entire childhood that I kind of grew up with internalized misogyny. You know, I had in my mind, I had generals already um, already figured out for people of specific genders, and I think that was a challenge because it played into how I, you know, presented myself. Just like Jessica said, I wasn't. I didn't say. I was careful with my wording. I was careful of how I came off. I felt intimidated in spaces where I felt like I wasn't included or where I didn't belong. And it really took a while to challenge the gender roles that are enforced upon us just because these leadership positions were never meant for women because they're not masculine. And so that was a challenge that I faced internally.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. I think a lot of the challenges that I faced have definitely been internalized by myself. And I think there are a lot of challenges or barriers that I put in place just because of, I think, you know, the influence of the society around us or our culture and our family. So I think I'm always worried about whether I'm going to be taken, you know, seriously by my male counterparts, or again, like having to change my language or rewording, or thinking about the way I come off to people. So I think a lot of that I have to fix or reflect upon internally in order to overcome those barriers. And I think definitely being in these leadership positions, and then especially at my intern position now with the Women's Center, I think like I'm definitely able to educate myself more on like why I shouldn't internalize that or why I'm feeling that way, because basically society has told us to feel that way. But I think in my job as a community advisor on campus, I think when it comes to confrontations about policies or anything like that, and when it comes to confronting males, I think I do kind of face backlash or where they don't take me seriously. But I think that would be the only like physical environment or setting where I have faced that.
I like how a couple of you talked about wording, and I think we've heard a lot to stop saying sorry. I know I catch myself saying it all the time in emails and in person. I even said something to Natalie, like I wrote it in a doc. I'm just like, sorry, I have to write this. Like, we need to like stop saying things like that. I even catch my friends saying that. They're just like, oh, sorry, can you just like move out of the way? I'm like, don't be sorry. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. I think that's something that all of us need to. Also, using exclamation points, I feel like it's very much, we do that just to like show that we're excited. I don't know if ever anyone else is guilty of that. That's something I need to work on, I know for sure.
I literally do that all the time, and I'm like, oh wait, should I put like a period or do I put an exclamation point? But also sometimes I am just excited, but then I'm also like, is this unprofessional to use an exclamation point? But was there anything else anyone wanted to add? If not, kind of going along, with these challenges and these barriers that we've placed, whether they're physical or internalized, like we talked about, do you feel that you've been supported by, your campus community, whether it's faculty, advisors, students? Do you feel like you've been supported in your role on campus? And we can start with Jess this time.
100% yes for me. I've never, thankfully, I haven't come across a difficult situation or an experience where I felt like I wasn't being respected or appreciated. I can safely say that all of my advisors and, my mentor for McNair and my supervisors at the jobs that I've held on campus have all been very respectful, very intentional with making it known that I could talk about whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and I would be heard. And that was, whether it was exactly related to the organization or if it was something that was completely unrelated. I've always felt like I was seen in my positions. And I think, not only that, but I'm pretty sure all of my advisors have most of my advisors, I should say, have been people who identify as women, and that alone has like really motivated me and inspired me to perhaps it's one of the programs that I'm thinking about, but perhaps pursuing a career in higher education because I don't know, I just have a lot of appreciation for how they've impacted me as a student and as an individual, and it's something that I hope I can do no matter where I end up in the future. I want to be in a position where I can uplift other people just as they've done for me.
Thank you. And then we can have Emily go.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I have felt supported on campus, and I think it's all about reaching out to your resources. And I'm just really thankful that being a woman identified leader, I have the networking to reach out to them if I need anything. And so, yes, I think they have supported me along the way.
Yeah, I 100% agree as well. I mean, everyone has been just very helpful with me on getting to where I am at today. Like you both mentioned before, like my mentors and my faculty members and advisors, they've all helped me get into graduate school. They've all helped me become a better person, get my leadership positions. They were in this process of me growing as an individual in this leadership position. So I really have felt supported by them, and then also students as well. Every encounter I've had with other students in the organizations I'm in have also been just very respectful and, just wanting the best for everyone. So I think UW Oshkosh does a great job at that.
I have to agree with, all of you. I felt like very supported, especially from female advisors who I tend to kind of navigate to. And all faculty, I feel like is very open to opinions. Whether that's, carried out is always like depends, but I think definitely having that opinion is what like welcome to be shared. At least that's been my experience so far.
Yeah, I would definitely have to amplify what everyone is saying. As everyone I've met has supported me, whether it comes to academics, but also like my personal life. So I think it makes it that much better that they ask those questions that pertain to things outside of school, because I think it further deepens like that personal connection. And I've been able to find that with a lot of people on campus. I'm really grateful for that. But now I'm curious to know if there is like a faculty member who identifies as a male that you all trust in, because I know we kind of identified that we tend to go to more like women identified advisors and faculty. So I'm curious to know about that for anyone who wants to share.
I can talk about that. I usually tend to also go towards female identified mentors and advisors, but I do have two advisors who actually wrote me recommendation letters and who were just really, really close with anything that I needed help with in my classes, who were male. So I would say that they were overall just, really helpful. They were the professors in my majors that I felt most confident in talking to and who I felt like really accepted what I was saying and didn't make me feel bad for anything. Like if I was confused about something, it wasn't like, what is she doing in my office? It was really, accepting with those two male advisors that I had. So.
Anyone else?
I would say the same. I do have a few male professors that I've been comfortable with just reaching out to, whether it's like additional help on something I don't understand or just talking about life. So I have the same sentiment as well.
Yeah, I want to say a couple as well, and they were like professors, so I did meet them like in that kind of like teaching role. But I've been able to, discuss personal life and stuff like that. So that's also kind of resembled the same relationships that I have with other advisors, which has been pretty nice.
If there's nothing else that wants to be shared, we can kind of go on to the next one, which is, do you think that there's enough opportunities for women to pursue leadership experiences on campus? So not even just joining an organization, but also like becoming a leader in an organization or something else within campus? Do you think like there's enough opportunities for that? We can start with Jessica again.
I personally think that there are. I think that that's something that I really appreciate about Oshkosh is that I don't know, I feel like the organizations as a whole and the advisors who help run them do a good job at making it known that their positions for leadership are open to anyone, whether whatever you identify as for your gender or what your racial background is, or things like that. I think that that's something that I've never personally come across as, a challenge or an obstacle between me and this leadership position that, I want. And I'm grateful for that. I think, once again, I think that that's something that I really appreciate about Oshkosh and its organizations.
I also agree. I think there are. However, I feel like there's another part of me that's like, there can be more, you know, just like trying to be overachieving. But I think there are good opportunities on campus.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I do think there are there's good opportunities for women on campus to pursue leadership roles, but of course, like Emily, I want to say there's always more opportunities for improvement. I think there's always going to be, there's always going to be that sort of stigma and barriers to get there. So I think every campus will always need to kind of keep pushing forward for that. But specifically, like for my organizations like OSA, Psych Club, NSLS, they have been incredibly awesome in having women go up and gain leadership skills and those roles. There hasn't been like any specific barriers that stopped me or other like woman identified leaders in those clubs that I've seen. So I would say that those clubs do a great job. I'm obviously not in any other clubs besides that. There's a lot of clubs on campus. Right now with COVID, there's less participation in clubs, but there are a lot of clubs. So I can't speak on all of them, but I want to say that like the clubs I'm in and the ones that I've been seeing, from my friends or from other students, that there is a pretty good opportunity for women.
I think going off of that, I know a lot of what I see is more internalized of getting women to want to or like see themselves as leaders. I think, is a big part of why we do this program kind of in general. It's to show that like you can be leaders. Sorry, I need to mute it quick, so I'll let Natalie go if she has anything to add.
I don't have much to add because I think you all just kind of really summed it up very nicely. I'm definitely someone who thinks, there's always room for improvement. So I definitely echo that more opportunities would definitely be greater. I think it'd be nice if there were more conferences, like Titan Leadership, maybe more like year round, or just have like the university kind of advertise more conferences. I know like maybe it's depending on like individual departments for them to advertise, but again, I think like just knowing that those opportunities are there, I think makes a difference. I can't say that phrase, but it really just is a great opportunity for students. So.
Was there anything else anyone wanted to add? Well, then we can open it up if there are any questions. I know we only have a few people on, so if you want to unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
Were you asking us to ask questions or other people in the call?
If you had any questions also, but if anyone on the call had any questions as well. And Max says, what are you looking forward to as the semester? Whoever wants to take that.
I can start. I'm graduating, so I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm graduating in May, so once this semester is over, it'll be like a huge wave of relief and just really excitement, and then I'll be getting ready for graduate school in September. So yeah, I'm excited.
I don't have as exciting news as that. I'm just ready for the semester to be over and just for summer to roll around. I'm sorry, I wish it was more interesting.
You're not supposed to say sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
I am looking forward to graduating as well. I'm excited to just spend the summer with my family and just be home before graduate school, and just kind of mentally preparing myself for graduate school. But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting, just kind of finishing this chapter in my life and moving on to the next. So I'm excited.
Yes, I am also excited for graduation. I'm very happy that it'll be in person. We just got another email today, which was nice. But also preparing for graduate school. I'm like pooped out right now, so I just like can't imagine going on to graduate school, but it'll be good. I'll get that mentality right up and quick soon.
I have a question. Since I'm also graduating, but so since we are upperclassmen, is there anything that you wish that you could tell your freshman or even sophomore self, you know, going into college, and any advice you'd give, like going into leadership roles or getting involved or anything?
I can start. I would say, and advice I would give to underclassmen is to definitely obviously join out organizations, but if you join, go a little bit deeper than that. I know a lot of people are joining organizations for the resume, and that's a great reason to join. You want to have that opportunity and to get that experience for graduate school, and that's great. But I also would advise students to really just put yourself out there and be honest and just be yourself, and it's going to be awesome. You're going to meet awesome people. And if I wouldn't have done that, if I would have just sort of skimmed over the surface in the organization just to be in it but not to really contribute, I wouldn't have had I wouldn't have had the experience I've had at UWO. And it really has been a good experience because of those opportunities that I've taken. So yeah, I would just say make sure that if you are interested in it, don't just kind of be in it and go through the motions. Just really dig deeper than that.
Yeah, I really agree. I think sometimes we let our insecurities get the best of us and we don't put ourselves out there. But overall, it's been a really rewarding experience. And I don't think that labels or insecurities should constrict you of what you can and what you are capable of doing on campus.
One thing I would tell, I don't know, I forgot the question. Is it for incoming freshmen, for first year students?
Just anything, like freshman, sophomore, incoming.
Oh, got it. Okay. I guess I would just say, I think it's important to believe that you can do it, you can do things, and the people or the person that you're looking up to can be you one day. And that can be something on the smaller scale, that can be something on a very large scale. But I say that because I feel like I felt that a lot my first year. And in high school, I wasn't very involved in high school because my high school was pretty much just white people, so it was really hard for me to put myself in that situation to be involved. But I don't know, coming in as freshman, I remember I would, look at my CA and be like, wow, she must be the straight A student, super involved, super smart. That could never be me. And then the following year, I was a CA, and although it was short lived, it's an experience that I cherish so much. And then also looking at Seoul, freshman year, I went to that one meeting. I saw the executive board and I'm like, oh my gosh, they must be super smart. They are going places. That could never be me. And now I'm here, I'm on two executive boards. I have an on-campus job, and I'm doing things that I thought I wasn't going to be able to do. So I think that for anyone, whether you are first generation or not, it's really important to just visualize yourself as the person that you want to be, because you are that person already, but you just have to take advantage of the opportunities that are there right in front of you to be in those positions.
Can I add that I really agree with that? Just because as a freshman, I came in and I was really intimidated. And I thought that everyone who could articulate a proper sentence was really amazing and inspirational. And I would always wonder, like, oh, can I ever do that one day? And it's all about, being empowered, empower others to be their very best because it's all a process. Growth is a process. And I think everyone is wonderful in their own way, for seriously. So
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think if I could go back, I would tell myself that it's okay to come in undecided, because I know I was really worried about that and like being afraid. Like I didn't have anyone, like I couldn't talk to my parents about it. My mom was like, "Oh, well, what are you gonna do?" Blah blah blah, like constantly up my ear. But I think being undecided kind of led me into, pursuing different topics in the classroom, which led me to pursuing different leaderships outside the classroom or in the classroom. So I think, going in and not knowing, what you're going to do, what you're going to end up doing is okay, because you will find the path that you're meant to be on. And I think I've definitely discovered that, and I'll continue to discover that. And if it changes, well, it changes, and that's okay. So.
Is there any more questions?
Hello, I have a question. This is Demeyer Grady. So at first, thank you for sharing and for your responsive answers to the questions. And mine is just a process question. So a few of you are leaving our institution soon. That scares me. It always scares me when student leaders who have been committed are transitioning out. But also as female leaders or female identifying leaders, one thing that's a challenge in just organizations and work in general is this notion that we don't support each other. And even as allies, we often don't position ourselves to give up our seat to individuals who aren't going to know how to advocate for themselves or not going to put themselves out there to get a seat at the table. So my question is for you, have you thought about in your transition, how can you help reach back to other leaders, either those who identify just as a woman or even identify as your same race or a different race than yourself, to make sure that there's equitable seats at the table for all women, and even those who aren't going to know how to navigate the way you have to be successful at Oshkosh. Have you thought about that? And what does that look back? What feedback would you even give to UWO Oshkosh to make that accessible?
I guess I'm not graduating. However, that is something I am concerned with. And I think back to when I first came onto campus, and what really empowered me was having people that looked like me and working closely with them as mentors and as advisors. And I can name my Xiong, my Tao, having, in my experience, Hmong women who have gone through the system and know how to give you advice. They can empower you to speak up. And I think that's something that I work hard on as well for other members overall, just knowing that their voice matters and they're validated in what they're feeling. And I think validation goes a long way in inspiring others to speak up and wanting to get that seat at the table because it's something that they're passionate about. However, it is difficult to do that, although it is a value of mine.
So I'm not entirely sure if I understood the first question, correctly. So I'm just gonna try to answer it the best that I can. But
It's
thinking,
a process question, so you unpack it however it works for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I constantly think about what's gonna happen when I'm gone, like when I graduate, like just how Oshkosh is gonna look like, even when I'm like done with graduate school. Like looking back, has it grown? Is it still, kind of the same? Has there been any improvement in the areas that need it, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that right now, what kind of makes me nervous about transitioning is um, we've struggled like with soul, we've struggled a little bit with reeling people in, having people come to the meetings, and just making being involved the same as it was pre-COVID. I think that being involved feels and looks very different now, not only because it's virtual, but just like what everything that comes with that is just like the lack of opportunity to really make those connections, to really know what soul is about, what we stand for, what we do. So I think it's kind of worrisome to think, okay, obviously we have our exec board who have been very involved with, creating the events that we've been able to put out, but I don't know if with the exception of the people who are on the executive board right now who are going to graduate. And for those who are still going to be at Oshkosh, are those people even interested in stepping up and taking over the roles that are going to be empty when we're gone? And then you think about well, we haven't really had that great of a turnout this school year just because of that struggle. So will other members want to step up and take opportunity of being on the executive board? So I think that obviously that's not our fault. It's just like how things are right now, and you just have to hope that you're leaving this organization that you care so much about, that you've seen grow. Like how I think about it is like I've seen Soul grow ever since my freshman year when I wasn't even involved. It's something just completely different. 4 years, three, 4 years from like what it was a while ago, and so you just hope that it's going to continue growing and continue making that positive impact. The only feedback I would give to Oshkosh is that I would hope that they continue, if not increase their the amount of funding, the amount of effort that they pour into multicultural organizations. I would like to see that, and I think that that's really important because um, there's institutions all around that say, okay, we want to make our campus diverse, we want to make our population as diverse as possible, whether that's racially diverse, diverse in the ability aspect, and things like that. And then you have these students because you admitted them, but like are you showing that you support them? Are you actively putting funds into their organizations and their programs and things like that? So I think that's something that's an ongoing effort. It should be an ongoing effort, and I would hope that when I'm in graduate school, when I'm done with graduate school, when I look back at Oshkosh, that the multicultural organizations and other organizations that represent underrepresented populations um, continue to have that effort from the university to keep them going.
Yeah, that's a difficult question, and something it is hard to think about, with the progress and the hard work you made in college, and then to thinking about once you leave and you don't have any control over what's going to happen to the organization that you were in, because you will be leaving. But I feel like I shouldn't say you don't have any control, because I feel like some things that we can do as student leaders, you know, leaving and graduating, we can just support those who were like leaving behind to run the organization. You know, so for OSA, we do elections every year, and we just got a lot of new exec board members, and we just got a new vice president who's identified as a woman, a bunch of other leadership positions and senator positions. So I really think it's about just talking with them before you leave and really educating them on, you know, how you can be a female identified leader and how you can make sure there is an equitable opportunity for everyone. If maybe that's not on their mindset right away. So it's just really about communicating with them and letting them know like what you did over the past few years, what you even maybe hope to see happen when you're gone. But it is hard. But I mean, I don't know. I have hope that there are going to be, you know, a bunch of other younger students coming in and becoming leaders. I don't doubt that that won't happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's a difficult question to answer, and I guess I really haven't thought that much about it. I think as being on Soul, we have talked about it, and I know our advisor, Esmeralda, has talked with like the exec board and how to prepare for that transition and stuff like that. But I think one thing that we can do, I think we are already doing it, which is this panel and like sharing our experiences and, you know, the benefits and the importance of being involved and being student leaders. So I think, you know, having these conversations and sharing our experiences is extremely valuable. I think we just, you know, I'm glad it's being recorded and everything, but I think we just have to continue to share our experiences and to share them to people that we may not know personally, you know, so talk to strangers, talk to new students and stuff like that. So I think really stressing the importance is something we can do.
Also with that, it is definitely hard to think about. I mean, I've held many positions like in the past that are only like a year long one, and just seeing those transition and seeing what somebody new does with that position can be hard sometimes, because like you want to give like your opinion, but you also don't want to overstep. And then as far as graduating, it's difficult to think I'm not, or it's difficult to like not just leave and be like, I'm done, I did my time type thing, because that's definitely like gone through my head. But also just knowing that you are or letting your organization know that you are still a resource, to always contact you and like give advice and things like that, I think is the only way I've thought about it so far, when leaving.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think tying it kind of back, I think that all of you have done wonderful jobs as student leaders, and I can only hope for the best. And when we talked about mentors and individuals that influence us, I can only hope that those mentors will continue going and help influence other students into becoming student leaders. And I know that UWO is making strides with, you know, diversifying the faculty and staff on campus. And in my personal experience, I feel like by doing that, it helps empower students into becoming active student leaders. And I can only hope that when I leave this institution, you know, there'll be better circumstances where there will be more diverse staff and faculty on campus to inspire students to take on those roles and positions.
Was there anything else anyone wanted to add or any questions?
One quick thing I would like to say, I think that's just a really good point that you made. And one thing I would suggest for UW Oshkosh in the future is to do more advocating in the classroom by professors, just for like ways. I know they do advocate for student organizations, but I just wonder if there's more opportunities that professors can take to get those resources out. So like if each professor, had a link in their Canvas about like, oh, here are ways that you can become a leader on campus, like take a look at them, or giving just an announcement here and there, because we really do look up to our, our professors, our advisors, and everyone for that guidance. And some people do need that push.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely with the the university studies program, that's when we are like taking classes that we're required to take. I think it'd be nice for professors to push us into those activities and positions. Just letting students know that there are these opportunities on campus. They are very valuable, they're needed. And I think that a lot of students don't know what's going on campus. And that kind of leads to the issue of how do they know how great these opportunities are if they're not aware of the what comes with a position, what they get out of that position, and just the people that have gone through it and have gotten gotten great experiences, like going through these opportunities.
Anything any of you just want to add? Otherwise, thank you all for being here. I think you guys brought some great points up and answered like the questions very well. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm really glad that, I knew Jess and Courtney before, but it was so nice meeting you, Ava and Emily, and just knowing everything that we're all doing and learning about all that you all are doing is really great. And I'm hopeful as well. And I'm glad, Emily, that you will be here still at UWO. And we are also, just because we're graduating, we'll still be here to help and everything. So.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you all. It's sad that the majority of you are graduating, but it was nice knowing you're still a student.